Michael Schrage became interested in collaboration while working with his friend Rob Fulop on one of the first software prototypes of an interactive ad. Because they were the best of friends, respected each other, and wanted to work with each other, they thought their collaboration would be easy. They were wrong.
Interested in the history of technology, I looked at how computers might evolve as a medium compared to, say, television and radio and print. And what do all those media have in common for their success? It was advertising. All of those media were advertising driven. So the logical question for me was, how come there are no advertiser-supported video games? How come there's no advertiser-supported software? So I went to the people who ran the company, the Washington Post company, and I was directed to the president of Newsweek. And he loved the idea and said, we'll give you several $1,000s, do a prototype. And I knew exactly who I would want to do that prototype with. It was my friend Rob Fulop. He was a terrific video games designer, and I figured it was a perfect match.
At that time we were both, I think, 25 years old. So there was a lot of excitement about, wow, we get to go meet the president of Newsweek and pitch this idea, aren't we cool?
And so I was sleeping on Rob's couch in his place in Palo Alto, and we began, quote, collaborating, close quote, to produce a prototype. And it was, frankly, one of the most frustrating experiences I had ever had.
There wasn't a lot of shared vision of what we were making because there was no models in the world to look at of what an interactive advertisement would look like or be like. And that was where we got stuck, since there was no place in the world to point and say, it's like that. You know, Mike would say, oh, it's like a magazine, it's like a magazine, it's like a magazine. And it's like, well, gee, what do you do for a living? Well, I work at a magazine. And I was saying, well, it's like a game, it's like a game, it's like a game. Well, what do you do? Well, I make games.
It just seemed like all these things were aligned for having a successful collaboration, and in fact, we were growing more and more frustrated, both with the prototype and with each other.
When we degenerated to basically name calling, and you know, you just don't get it, you know, and I couldn't believe, and I think he also couldn't believe that we were just completely unsympathetic to the issues the other was holding as cherished jewels.
Basically, we blew a week, maybe 10 days of just iterations of crap.
That was when we knew we were in trouble. When it actually became personal, is when we realized that this is stupid.
Rob finally said, you know, we should really see this guy, Bernie DeKoven.
So I said, let's go meet Bernie. Bernie will help us, you know, kind of part meeting facilitator, part psychologist, part, you know, guru.
And I said, what, Bernie is what, a therapist? And he said, no, Bernie has figured out an interesting way of running meetings.
He was one of the first people that discovered that you could use a computer to facilitate a meeting, put your thoughts into a computer, in which case they then don't belong to anyone except the computer. Then you can move them around as if they were just abstract thoughts on a computer with no owner.
There is this very fast-talking Michael Schrage who comes in and seems to be just filled with great knowledge and ideas, and Rob starts introducing me to him, and I didn't really quite understand who he was, and I really didn't understand what they were trying to do, but I had already set up my computer because he told me to do that, and I had the projector ready to go.
And we went into his house, and he had a Macintosh hooked up to a Limelight projector. And a Limelight projector was just an early precursor of something that could take an image on the Macintosh screen and blow it up and make it look like a regular slideshow or regular theater production. And so Rob and I were sitting down in Bernie's room. We turned down the lights, and basically Bernie told us to talk about what we were trying to do.
Okay. We're just generating the alternatives so that we can
Okay, all right.
Michael, but you didn't get what I said.
What did I miss?
There was no immediate sense of gratification that they were getting from the conversation. So I felt that they were more, when they were talking, it would be each person would talk in his own direction.
What I'd rather do is pitch what I have in my head and put it out there, and then let's talk about it differently.
You know, it would be nice if you wouldn't interrupt me constantly as well.
They would kind of bounce. You know how they say they bounce ideas off each other? It was really kind of like that. Because they weren't absorbing each other's ideas. It was more like I bounce it and then it comes back and then I can play with it some more.
And it was weird because I remember, you know, I began by talking to Rob and with Rob, and as the conversation went on, I was no longer talking to Rob, I was talking to Rob through the medium of the screen, through this shared space of a conversation we were both creating, or to be more precise, all three of us were creating, because Bernie was really facilitating that conversation.
So we want
Try to capture that.
Okay.
But I want to challenge something here, Rob, because I think you're making forgive me for saying this, a huge, flawed market assumption.
But I think by the time that they really began to understand that they were really being listened to by this device, that I like to say that they saw themselves being heard, that's when things began to change.
Okay, so I really need, my view is...
The secret reason, by the way, you'll meet other people.
Right. That's the secret reason.
Yeah.
But this is a big decision how you market it, though.
Right.
What's the audience
That's,
I think that's an important...
What's the verbiage for that?
The question was important, and the answer was important, because it's really, you're really talking about a positioning statement here.
Okay.
Can we just get that?
Right.
Sure.
We listed our priorities. We agreed on our priorities together. We brainstormed and filled up the board with hundreds of notions, and we put everything in this right little bucket, and there was no tension. We left for the printout, and that printout became a map to our project.
You know, one of the most dangerous things in communication is when the same words mean different things to different people, because then language becomes a vehicle to complicate and confuse rather than to clarify and enhance.
That way.
Terrific. Great. You're right on that, Rob, for a change.
Mark, you're going to typewrite eventually. Something good will come out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we were basically using this shared space as a filter to screen out certain ambiguities and to create a shared understanding of what it is we were trying to do.
It took about 2 or 3 hours, and I think we left feeling, wow, we got it. You know, we know what we're doing now. It was a very satisfying experience.
This is such a simple, obvious thing to do. Why isn't this happening in more places, in more ways?
The power of each personality, if it's really a truly collaborative environment, supports everybody else and empowers everybody else. That's a condition that I call co-liberation or mutual empowerment. It's a rare condition, and it occurs only at some times in meetings. But when you have it, people really explode. Their ideas, they really feel that they're being listened to, and because they feel that they're being listened to, they hear themselves better.